so you're making me feel better already. My name is Jill Plummer, and I teach way up north in Danforth. You guys, this is a link to the Google Slides presentations that I'm showing you, and there's a lot of links embedded in it. So if you want to follow along with me, there's resources in it too, but you can hook up with me if you want. I'm kind of nervous. This is the first time I've presented here, and it's also pretty much the first time I've presented solo. So I'll just take a few deep breaths and I'll be okay. Okay. All right, I can come back to that slide in a few minutes if anybody needs it. Okay, so like I said, I'm from Danforth, Maine, and I put my email and Twitter up there in case anybody is interested. I am an ELA teacher. I've been teaching for about 21 years. Our district is tiny. We have one building, and we have pre-K to 12 in one building, about 150 students total. We're right on the Canadian border, and for a long time we've had like an outdoor education program, and it's becoming more like school-wide, and that's kind of what our focus is being. Lately it's experiential learning, and we're trying to integrate as much technology in as possible. So this is where Danforth is, if nobody knows. It's like I said, we're pretty close to the Canadian border, and it's right on East Grand Lake. So the objectives for the session, we're going to pretty much do three things. I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with project-based learning, but I'm going to just define that and make sure everybody understands what that is. Then I'm going to kind of tell our story. We've been doing project-based learning at our school for a little over a year now, so I'm not like the expert at this at all. We've made a lot of mistakes, and I can answer questions, but I don't know, I'm not the expert on it. And at the very end, I'm going to show you a slide with some of the technology that we've used throughout our units, and then I'm going to focus on two tools that have been just transformative for my students. So project-based learning, according to the PBL Works website, is a teaching method in which students learn by actively engaging in real-world and personally meaningful projects. And it's different than doing just a project. Back when I was in school, the teacher would assign a project, and she would define exactly what she wanted us to do, and we had to do it just right, and then she graded us on it, and that was it. Project-based learning is a lot different. The teacher poses a question, like an essential question, and then the kids have a lot of say in how they investigate this question. They gather tools, and the teacher is just kind of the guide. They test some hypotheses, they revise it, they go through the design thinking process quite often. They develop skills along the way. We've worked a lot with the habits of mind with our students, and we've seen great changes. And it's all real world. It's an authentic problem, and a lot of times when we do it, we try to integrate the community and the community members as much as we can. And since we're such a small community, it gets the parents and the community a lot closer to the school, and the relationships develop, and the kids feel good because they're helping the community, and the community loves to see the kids out helping also. So it works very well. So the benefits of project-based learning, there are a lot of them. The students are very engaged. It's interesting. They just really like it. It's meaningful. They develop, like I said, they develop those 21st century skills, collaborating, critical thinking, and they also master the content as they go along. Can you tell I'm really nervous? If you knew me, you would be able to tell that I'm pretty nervous right now. Okay, so this is just a short little video that really explains the benefits of project-based learning, so I'm going to show this.
What happens when teachers design projects that empower students with voice and choice? Students embrace a maker mindset. They define themselves as inventors and creators. They learn to take creative risks. Here they experiment and engage in iterative thinking. When this happens, they embrace a growth mindset and grow resilient. They become problem solvers and systems thinkers. They become divergent thinkers, thinking outside the box. They'll use creative constraint to find original uses for materials. Here they discover it's okay to be different. Often students embrace curiosity and wonder. They become explorers, seeking out new information and thinking critically. They grow more empathetic as they design meaningful products that they launch to the world. On an academic level, students are more engaged and the information sticks. There's often an increase in student achievement. Meanwhile, they learn key skills like project management, collaboration, and communication. True, these projects will prepare students for the creative economy, but more importantly, they empower students for a creative life. Here they see that making is magic. We know that there's a time crunch in schools. Materials can be scarce. Sometimes you're stuck with a tight curriculum map. But when you, as a teacher, empower your students with voice and choice, they become the makers who change the world.
I thought that summed up the benefits very well. So somebody might ask me, well, why do you do that? That sounds like a whole lot of extra work. It is, but it's definitely worth it. I have a couple of teachers that I work with, and we have, luckily this year and last year, they rearranged the schedule for us so we could have common planning time, and that was huge. That helped out a lot, because otherwise we'd have to meet after school. We usually have anywhere from 2 days, 3 days in the summer to get together and plan some units, and that helps. But it's so worth it when you see the, it's so worth it when you see the results. All right, this is a video that I made. It's on our school website, but it kind of talks about the backbone of our, program. In September of 2018, the students at East Grand School in grades 6 through 9 embarked on a new adventure, project-based learning. Project-based learning is a new movement in education. According to the PBL Works website, it is a method of teaching in which students gain knowledge and skills by working for an extended period of time to investigate and respond to an authentic, engaging, and complex question, problem, or challenge. Several teachers at East Grand School collaborated to craft the 4 3-week project-based units. During the rest of the school year, students follow a regular academic schedule. The content of the units is based on the geography, ecology, and history of the local area. An element of community service was also incorporated into the design of the units. One of the main purposes behind the shift to project-based learning
was to instill a sense of appreciation for the benefits of living in the northern Maine woods. Throughout the units, the students also learned how to use new technology tools. The integration of technology into the units was also another paramount goal. The students also went on many excursions to experience outdoor recreational activities. As the year progressed, the teachers saw students more willing to take risks, acting in a more persistent manner when their learning was challenging, showing empathy and encouraging others more readily, and communicating more efficiently when working in groups.
So that's kind of the theme behind it. It has a lot to do with the outdoors and really what we have in our area. All right, so I'm going to tell a little bit about our story. These are my partners in crime. Jennifer Franzek is our 6 through 12 math teacher, and then William Cliff is the 6 through 12 social studies teacher. Like I said, we have very few students, so we all have to wear a lot of hats. And it's very interesting because each of us are different, which really complements the units and how we put them together. But we're very, very committed, and that's really important if you want to implement this in your school. So, a couple years ago, we were starting to get worried. The population in our area was declining. There isn't much work where we are. Like I said, we're kind of, I don't want to say the end of the earth, but we kind of are. It's a nice place, but it's, yeah. So, but the quality of life is just incredible. I grew up in New Jersey, and I moved there back in 1990, and when I go back to New Jersey, I just can't even stand it anymore. So that's my home now, but it's beautiful. So we also noticed that the school was the center of our community. If the school, and there was talk that the school would be closed soon because of the declining population. And if the school closes, families are going to move away, obviously, and our town will die. So we, some residents in the area decided to try to combat that. And they knew that if they worked with the school would help and parents would get involved and all that. So CORE is the Citizens Organization for Rural Education. And so they started a nonprofit. And over the last couple of years, they've raised money and they've sponsored some programs and they're getting grants. So without them, we wouldn't have the resources that we have. We wanted to increase our enrollment, and we wanted to be different. We wanted to attract new students. But that's hard where we are. I mean, you're going to have to give up your life in the suburbs or the city to move here, and there's just not a whole lot to do. So how were we going to be unique enough to have people want to be with us? So we decided we're going to have to use what we have. That's what you do, right? So we decided that we would develop the natural resources in our area and the human resources and put them together and see what we could make with that. So we looked at what we had. We have a committed staff, cafeteria administrative assistants. All of our staff members are very committed. They're very student-centered. Everybody knows everybody, and that's part of small town life, but we're just a big family. We have innovative teachers. Our principal, who also happens to be our superintendent now, she didn't used to be, but she's both now. She is incredible. She when we ask, she says yes. Yes, yes, yes. And that has allowed us to be able to do so much more and experiment, and she's not afraid for us to try, and it's just very inspiring. And the board backs us up. The community members are seeing what we're doing, and they're volunteering. I'll help with this, and I'll give money, and anything we need. And now the parents are being very supportive, and the kids are just so excited. And it's just wonderful to go to school every day and have kids, what are we gonna do today? It's just great. So all of that worked together to be we've developed over the years a really great culture, and that was what Mr. Murray was saying this morning, and it's just so important. I kept nodding my head when I was listening to him. So, the things that we didn't have, we only have 16 teachers in the whole school. We have quite a few ed techs. We have a high percentage of children with special needs. We don't have a curriculum coordinator, so teachers have to do their own curriculum development. We don't have a tech integrator, so there are 2 of us that kind of fill that role, but we don't get paid for it. And we do it gladly. Of course, I love it, and I'll help anybody do anything. And we didn't have a nurse, although now we have one day a week, which is nice. We didn't have a full-time guidance counselor. She works about 3 days a week, and of course, financial resources were scarce. So we applied for grants, and once we got the grants, we hired these wonderful people. Rural Aspirations has been working, the lady that coordinates everything, she's one of the founding members. Her name is Cora Soll, S-O-L-L, and she is she's very dynamic, and she's the one that helped us plan everything. She knows how to ask the questions that need to be asked. So we worked with her and came up with, really we had to and I'll go into this, but we kind of had to look at our programming first before we could even jump in. So then we had to have our teachers commit to doing this. So the first year, we didn't do anything with the kids. This was all planning. We first thought, well, what could be? And we thought of all kinds of stuff. We wanted to have a barn and animals, and we wanted to build trails for snowshoeing and hiking and everything. We wanted to buy a motorboat to take the kids fishing. So, I mean, you go big when you think in that way. We used the half and whole day workshops all year long, and the principal also every once in a while would hire subs for us so that we could have a day of just planning or organizing or whatever we needed. Now the thing was, and this is going to happen in any school, but not everybody was on board. We were kind of looking at this framework that we wanted to do in we were focusing most on high school, the 9 through 12, and there were a couple of teachers that were very resistant. And those of us that were really excited about it's a big bummer, But, so we worked through it, and like I said, Cora Soll helped us through all of that, and we were able to come to an agreement or we figured out a way to do it so that those that weren't comfortable with the change were not as involved as the ones that were excited about it. And as we planned all this, we kept coming back to the fact that we need to use what we have. We have the natural resources in the area. We have the community members. And one of the first things that we did was we created an outdoor classroom. The property next door to the school happened to be owned by one of the, well, I guess it would be the guidance counselor and her husband. And they donated a piece of land, and he works in the woods, so he cleared it and leveled it all out, and we've got benches, and we have a fire ring out there. And now, pretty much every day, there's at least one class out in that outdoor classroom. It's awesome. Our pre-K, we've got a new pre-K program, I think it was last year, and it's all based on outdoor education, so she uses it a lot. So then, in this year-long process of planning, we started to look at pathways. Most schools have the CTE program pathway that students will go through, and of course the college pathway. And because of the background that we had with the outdoor education, I think it had been there for 20 years, at least. And there were a lot of resources and materials and everything. So we started with that. We kind of built on that, and we created a natural resources pathway. And we were trying to think of programming that the kids could do, and like I said, at first it was all about high school. So we thought about developing programming for high school students so that they could take like a junior guides license and then eventually become a guide, or what kinds of classes could they take that would integrate with some of the other outdoor programs. And we developed a special high school English class that was an alternative for the students that were in the outdoor ed program. And the first time through, there were only 2 kids that took it, but like I said, our population is very, very low, but it's all part of the building. It's all part of the process. So then we thought, okay, that's 9 to 12. That's great. That's what we want to do. But how are we going to get the students ready so that when they get there, they'll be ready to jump into that? So obviously, we decided to start in middle school. I am like the only middle school teacher that's strictly middle school. My friend Jennifer Franzak teaches 6 through 12 math, and Will teaches the social studies, and the science teacher teaches like 7 through 12 science. So, but I'm just English. I'm English, and I do a little technology too. So, and middle school students are usually the ones that are forgotten. So I was really excited to hear that we were going to actually start with this. And the teachers that teach middle school were the most comfortable with project-based learning. So it just seemed natural for us to start there. So we created some curriculum, and most of this was done the first, well, it would have been not last summer, but the summer before. We had a couple of days where we worked with rural aspirations and planned units. And the first unit we start on day 1 of school. It all focuses around habits of mind. And we teach the kids what they are, we practice them, we point them out throughout the whole year, but we really give them the hands-on experiences to help them understand, not just learn about it, but understand what it feels like to persist, and what empathy feels like and what it should look like. So that's like the first 3 weeks of class, first 3 weeks of school, excuse me. And even in that 3-week period, we saw huge changes in our students. They would encourage each other more. They were more tolerant of each other. When they would make a mistake, they would laugh it off instead of stomping out of the room. And you know how middle school students are. So it was just a huge success. So that really fueled us. That really gave us the fire to keep going. And that was huge, because whenever you start something big like this, you don't, is this gonna work, you know? So, but it was just such a success, and we were all excited, and the kids were excited, and that just made it even better. So the second unit that we did, we developed a field guide for our area. We wanted them to develop a sense of appreciation for where they live, because most likely when they graduate high school, no matter where they go, most likely it's going to be away from here. And we want them to be able to, at some point, come back. And that's the whole, you know, we're trying to save the town, kind of. So we want them to come back. So we want them to see exactly what we have. We want them to realize that the people in the community want to make our community better. So, so that was the next big project. And then at the end of the year, we had, we did this, we've done this for years and years. That's kind of how we got the idea behind the project-based learning. Probably 10 years ago, we started developing a service project at the end of the year. And each teacher in the middle school and the high school would think of a project that they would like to do that would benefit the community. And we wanted it to be something that we were comfortable with, so that the teachers would be willing to do it. And then what we do is we pitch it, and then the kids get to choose which project they want to work on from 6th grade through 12th grade. So they get excited about it because they have that choice. And that made, again, the community just gathers around to see what we're going to do, what we're going to come up with, and it works out very well. Now, in the video that I showed, it said that we developed 4 units of project-based learning. Wow. We got through the field guide, we got through the habits of mind, we felt really good, we were all energized, and then we got to the field guide and we did interviews, and you'll see more about that in a little while. But we got through that, and it took more energy and it took more time, and the final product didn't come together as quickly as we wanted it to, so we were a little discouraged. And then all of a sudden, one of us looked at our calendar and thought, oh my goodness, the next project is supposed to start next week. And we were like, we don't even have it planned. We know kind of what we want to do, but we don't have all the ins and outs of it. So we had to make a really hard decision to not do that unit. And I am a perfectionist. I like everything just so, and if I say I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. So that was very difficult for me to let go. But the other 2 teachers are pretty much the same in that regard, and we just kind of had to say, that's just the way it's gonna have to be. And that's what we did. So when you're doing this kind of work, you have to remember that it's okay to let things go. So, a couple of things that we learned. We stayed at the Best Western last night. I have 2 teachers from my school that came up with me. And we got 2 rooms, and I said, I am not done with my presentation. So you guys sleep in that room, and I will sleep in this room. And I was up till about 2:30. So I was thinking, and it was actually good because I got I guess you'd say the adrenaline rush, and I mean, it was just gold. Everything was coming together. It was great. But anyway, I started to think about what we learned through this process, and even reflecting on that learning made me feel, you look at the whole project, the whole year, and it's just, I can't believe we did that. Anyway, the units were very impactful on the student mindset. Their confidence, they're willing to take risks, the ability for them to persevere, and that goes like anything from like persevering through a math problem or something physical in PE class or just anything. They were so much more willing to give it a try, and it was great to see students encouraging other students too, because they all got it. In order to do this work, all of the parts of this have to be together. The board has to be on board. The administration has to be supportive. The teachers have to be willing to put in that extra time. And sometimes the students, the parents, and the community don't at first realize what this work is going to do and why are they doing this. This is not school. This is not the way it's supposed to be. But when they see the students growing, that just, everything comes together. But there has to be that school culture and that willingness and the commitment to do this work. And that kind of takes care of the last one. So another thing that we learned was obviously don't try too much. That's what I said about letting that unit go. And it was great because the other two, and like the art teacher helps out sometimes, and the PE teacher, she's great. The PE teacher, she's all about the outdoors. She wants us to take the kids on all kinds of field trips, hiking and canoeing and everything. And we got a lot of support for that. But we also needed to remember that there's only so much you can do. And that has to be in the back of your mind all the time. The willingness from the students is really important. At the very beginning of last year, the 6th graders were moving up into the middle school, and the 8th and 9th grade classes were so small they were combined. And I remember, like, on the first day of school, the 8th and 9th graders just grumbling, why do we have to work with the 6th graders? They're so immature. And it was a little bit discouraging because we wanted the kids to be excited, but they weren't. But the more we showed them how things were going to go, they just got right on board and they just became leaders. It was wonderful. The teachers, and this sounds kind of funny, but if I didn't enjoy the other 2 teachers as much as I do, I probably wouldn't be able to do that. So you have to like the other people. And that sounds weird, and I don't know how else to say it, but you do. You have to be able to trust them, and again, this kind of comes back to letting things go. You can't sweat the small stuff. You got to let that roll off your back, and just do what you can, and everything will be okay in the end. And last night when I was putting this together, this was just the sentence that popped into my head. It is definitely the most gratifying work I have ever done. It's not just me feeling good, it's not just my students feeling good, it's the entire staff, it's the entire town. And it's changed our lives. Okay, so this year I started teaching 8th grade. I haven't taught 8th grade in quite a while, but I asked the principal, we realized in the summer that the 8th graders were not scheduled to be anywhere from 9 to 10 o'clock every day. And I said, I'll teach them. So I started thinking about all of these different aspects of technology and leadership and all sorts of things. And I called the class digital literacy, but that's part of it. That's only part of it. And I wanted to come up with a better name than that, but the kids are excited. And I've had these kids since they were in 5th grade, every year since they were in 5th grade. So we're very well acquainted, and they know that I'm a little off my rocker sometimes, but they were excited to see, because I wasn't supposed to have them. Anyway, the first project that we did, I told them, I said, I'm going to present at a conference in October, and I want you guys to show what you learned last year. I want you to capture something important from your learning in our project-based learning cohort. So I have 2 videos that I want to show you. This first video, they filmed it out on the soccer field, and obviously it was a very sunny day, so the picture isn't great, and you have to kind of listen to the sound because they were far away from the camera. We didn't have the best equipment. But anyway, so I'm going to let you watch this video. These are my girls.
You have to shoot the shot. If you don't make it, the rebound, shoot again. Okay, I'll try again. Whoa! This video is about persisting. You're probably wondering why we made this video. We made this video because in the past years we've done many videos like this to explain the HOMs. HOMs are habits of mind. We use them in our daily life to make us better people and the people around us. This video is about persistence. Okay, we're going to see something.
And this one was made by a different student, and this was, I learned about Adobe Spark last year, and I used it for one of the classes that I took. And this was really the first chance that I was able to work with a student and let him try it. So this is his first try, and he did really, really well.
Field Guide, created by the students at East Grand School. Last year, teachers decided to start project-based learning units with the middle school. We decided to create a field guide for our area. The 7th grade's job was to illustrate what the human structures are in our area. Human structures are structures created by people. There are a lot of human structures in our area. Some are the fire tower, Harlow Trail, snowmobile trails, and the town wellhead. To start the process, we interviewed local business owners to ask about human structures in our area to learn more about them. Then we each chose a topic from all the local human structures and researched the topic. We found a lot of information. We also kept notes and composed the text. We went on Canva.com and we each created a page for the field guide. for editing all of the spelling and grammar, and we made sure the information was correct. We shared her design with Miss P. She put them together by grade level and created a document to be published. Then we had it printed. In this process, we practiced some habits of mind, like thinking and communicating with clarity and precision, striving for accuracy, applying past knowledge to new situations, questioning and posing problems, and thinking interdependently. Lastly, we distributed the field guides to the community members.
I did not speak much about Adobe Spark in my presentation, but I highly recommend looking into it if you've never used it before.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's great. You can make just graphic designs on it, or you can make slideshows like that. And I've made some in 15 minutes, and they're great. There's background music that's included. You can, like he did, you can put pictures, you can put film clips in there, you can put text in there, and then do the voiceover, and it's very quick and easy.
Is it free? Oh.
Yes, I think there's probably a paid version also.
Yeah.
But here's our field guide. I want to pass that around. And like he said, each child did a page in it, and then we had a contest for the cover, and got one of the local businesses to donate a $25 gift card, and the boy that won it was very excited. And that's our crew. That is last year's 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and all of our staff. And we were informed last spring that the state, Amanda Nguyen at the state, nominated us for one of 2 schools in the state to the national SEDA organization, and there are only, like I said, there are only 2 schools per state. And then we found out in, I think it was May, that we were one of 5 finalists in the country because of this work, which was just awesome. And then we were told, I don't know, a couple months ago that Mammal conference is next weekend, this actually a week from today, and they were going to present one of the 2 exemplary practice awards to us for this work also. We were nominated by Cora Soul, who is the founder of the Rural Aspirations Project. And the reason I'm saying this is just because we never ever imagined that we would have as much success with this and as much recognition with this as we do. And it's beyond amazing. Okay, how much time? About 50. I was hoping to get done with this sooner so you had a little more time to play. So these are all of the different technology tools that we used in our units. And most of you are probably pretty familiar with these. And I'm sure most of you have used quite a few of these. Vocaroo, that's kind of it's very simple. It's a voice recorder, and it records, it will generate a web address that you can make a QR code out of, and you can go right to that QR code and hear the voice of whatever student or whomever had made the voice recording. It's just so simple and blah that you wouldn't think, oh, big deal, but it's really neat. It's so simple that it could I'm having a hard time here. You can use it for so many different things. So what I wanted to focus on were these two tools, Canva and Padlet. Padlet's been around for quite a while, and I used it several years ago for classes that I took, but also with my students. And I hadn't used it in a while, and last year I picked it back up again, and it is so different and so much better than it used to be. There's just so much more you can do with it. Canva is a graphics design program, and it's very simple, and you can create a really beautiful design in, again, like minutes. But first, I want to just mention this. Everybody knows about all the Google, the different apps that Google has, but the photo app, we developed something which was just, it's been used so many times. Every time we go out on a excursion or a field trip, or even if we do something in the schoolyard, we take pictures. We take pictures, pictures, pictures. And usually when we get done, I'll hand the SD card to my student and say, okay, upload it. So it's nothing I have to do, it's one less thing I have to do, but we put everything there. And then that way, whenever a student is creating something, an iMovie or a slideshow or anything, a lot of times we'll have the kids make a slideshow to show the board. It's all right there. The kids have the address. They can go right there and get any picture they want. It's huge. It was a wonderful idea. So Canva is a very robust but simple graphic design program. There is a free and a paid version. It's very simple and intuitive. It's very clean, so it's just very easy to use. It offers templates, and they're different sizes, and you can use them for different applications, but they're all pre-sized, and you can click on it, and it'll give you like a design that you can use and just change the text on, or it will give you a blank slate, and then you can just add whatever you want to it. And it also now, I think just recently, it showed, it has started printing things, and so you can take your design and say, okay, I want t-shirts made out of this design, and I want business cards made out of this design. Totally customizable, and then you can download your designs, and it will give you several different formats that you can download it in, PNG, JPEG, PDF, so depending on what you want to use it for, it's very versatile with that. And I figured out, I guess it was right before we did the field guide, that if a student made a design, I was wondering, well, what if they have one little error on there and I want to fix it? Well, I figured out that if they share it with me and all they have to do is type in my email, I will get an email, and I can click on that email, and it'll take me right to their design, and I can change anything in that design. So we're kind of sharing that design, but it's asynchronously. We can't both be on, like a Google Doc, we can't both be on at the same time. So, but whatever I do to it, it saves, and then if the student accessed it again, he could change that. So that helped with the field guide a lot, because they could send it to me and I could check it over, and that worked really well. Oh, and I don't know whether I mentioned this, well, not all, probably most of the images in here have a link attached to them, and at the end I'll go back and put the bit.ly address on there again. But if you have this, if you look at this again and you want to see the Canva Quick Start Guide, all you have to do is click on this, okay? And then this just goes right to canva.com, and you make an account and you're on. Okay, Padlet, I'm going to show you this quick little video, and Padlet is very versatile, and this explains exactly, whoops, exactly what Padlet is and a little bit of what it can do.
This video. Today, I'd like to introduce you to a tool called Padlet. Padlet is a free online tool. It's very device friendly. It will work with phones, tablets, laptops, Chromebooks, whatever device your students have, because it's simply browser based. So if they can navigate to a website on their device, they can use Padlet. Now, what is Padlet? It is basically a bulletin board. That's all it is. It's a digital collaborative bulletin board is how I would describe it. So just like students could come up to a physical bulletin board and post something on there and go back and sit down, they could brainstorm in that way, and that would work. Padlet is a digital bulletin board, so students don't have to come physically to the board. They receive the link. If they navigate to that link, then they will be able to post onto the board from their device. So they could be with their phone at a station or with their Chromebook at their desk, and they can be posting all their ideas onto this one bulletin board. You as the teacher have that set up in advance. You've given them the link, and then you might project that bulletin board on the board for everyone to see the ideas to start discussion. Now, the crazy thing about this is it's super simple. A bulletin board is not, groundbreaking, but it's so simple that you can use it in so many creative ways in your class. So let me show you just a few examples of how teachers have done this. You might do something like a bell ringer, word of the day, and so all the students from their seat start posting onto that wall. You could do this, you could get as complicated as you want. For example, they could describe their work. So you can see different examples of student thinking. You could have them take a picture. If you're using your phone or your Chromebook or your tablet, they could take a picture of something they wrote out and post it right there. And so the great thing about this digital bulletin board is you can post, it doesn't have to be text-based, you can post images, you can search for images right there as you're posting. So you might have something to describe how they feel or how they think. You can even kind of brainstorm and make flow charts. You could do timelines. So you could arrange these things in so many different ways. You can have also post in different categories, so you could set up columns. So there's just so many ways to get students involved, and you as a teacher, you're open to be as creative as you want, and you're going to come up with great ideas on how to use this, how to get students engaged, how to get that formative assessment, and you can use Padlet in any way that you see fit. And it's a very powerful but simple tool that also happens to be free. So let me show you how to get set up with Padlet and how to begin using your very first Padlet in the next video.
Okay, I am going to escape out of this, and I want to just pull up my, this is my dashboard, and you're allowed, about last year or the year before, you were only allowed, in the free version, you were only allowed 3 boards. Now they've upped it to 20, which is just wonderful. So some of these I've used. I'm just going to show you one of the ones that we used when we were developing our group norms for our cohort and project-based learning. This was what I put the directions on here, and then the kids all posted ideas, and they have, you can star rate it or upvote it or downvote it or like it. You can set all those in the settings. And the most recent thing I did, and I mean, it was just like 2 days ago. What I did was I started book clubs with my students, and I had them choose the books that they wanted to do. Instead of like the guided reading thing that the teacher does, I choose the book and I tell you which group you're in. And they chose their groups, they chose their books, and I was trying to think, how am I going to get them to, how am I going to know what they're doing, and how am I going to guide them as they go through it? So I thought of Padlet. So what I did is I made for each book, each club, I made a Padlet. So each day they go on here, and I had them put the name of the leader and the date, the assignment, who the note taker was, what questions they asked, the thoughts brought up, comments, and then I look at it and I make comments back to them. And then I realized, one of the kids realized you could color the posts. So each day I'm having them do a different color. Oh, it's not letting me scroll, but, oh, maybe I have to do. So this was 2 days ago, that was yesterday, and this is today. So I haven't even seen the orange on this group. So I'll be able to see exactly what they read, what they did when I was gone today. And usually when it's, you can scroll through it a lot more easily when it's, usually my window's a lot smaller and you can see more. But because of the display, that's just the way it is. And I just wanted to show you, was there something else I want to show you? No, I don't think so. Okay, so, let's go back to this. All right, at the very end are resources. We did a design learning lab with 3 teachers at our school got together, and teachers from all over came in and learned, we presented what we did in our cohort and the technology tools that we used, and they really liked it because it was local and they could see exactly what we were doing, and they got ideas. It was great. So there are 3 links here. One is to the website that we put on there for the learning lab, and we have a website, and then at the top there's some tabs, and each of the teachers put on some content. So this goes right to my content, which has information about Padlet and Canva and some other things. This is our East Grand School website, and that's the PBL Works website, which is kind of like if you want to do PBL, that's where you go. All right, I want to go back to the very beginning to the bit.ly, so in case you came in late, you can get the bit.ly and then you can look at this. But the Canva and Padlet are just, you can use them for so much, and I just wanted to share them. There it is. I just wanted to share them because they work across all content areas, and they're just awesome. So I guess that's it. If anybody has any questions, do we have any time? Nope. But yeah, go ahead.
So for project-based learning, I'm guessing that it's cross-curricular,
Yes.
depending on the interests of the other teachers. So for these 3 weeks or whatever concentration, do you change your schedule of the day?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes. The first year we did it, we do it in the morning. And the first year usually we have 3 hours of classes. But we kind of shrunk that 3-hour period down into 3 half-hour periods. And then we had the rest of the time to all meet together. But we found out that the transition in between those wasn't working. So what we did this year was we had 2-hour classes. But like the first week I saw 6th grade and 7th grade, but didn't see 8th grade. And then the following week I saw 7th and 8th, but not 6th, like we rotated. So we each got to see the students the same amount of time, but it wasn't as much as normal, and that was much better because we had an hour with them instead of a half hour. So that's how we worked it. And it's only for a 3-week period of time, and then we go back to just our regular schedule, and then later in the year when we want to, we just pop back into that project schedule. And it seemed to work, so.
So you had your field guide for last year. Are you doing it again this year?
No, that's a good question. We didn't want the kids to feel like, oh, we're doing that again.
Right.
And it's also, we actually, you can see we printed it and we handed it out.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to reinvent that wheel. So this year, what our plans are is to make a museum. So the kids are going to get the history aspect, and so they're going to interview some of the older folks in town and learn about the history of the town and what kind of work was there, what was life like, and they're going to make some sort of museum, and that's what the kids get to decide. we come up with that idea, and then it's their job as to how it forms into the, you know, what the end result is. And that's what makes it so fun, because they get to decide. And then sometimes you kind of feel like you're scrambling at the last minute to okay, well, they said they want to do this, so now we got to get this ready. But it's not to the point that we can't handle it. And that's why it's so important to think it through ahead of time.
Are you still working with that rustic?
Yes, that theme, yes, yeah. So it's still part of the appreciation of our place, but instead of the science-y aspects, we're gonna look more at the history this year. And it's gonna, we hope it's gonna be like a pop-up museum is the way we thought about it, and we were thinking that maybe the kids want to take pictures and then put QR codes all over town, and then somebody that visited the town, they could snap the QR code and just learn all about the history, just, you know, something like that.
The place-based learning piece, you're so right about that, especially at the middle level, kids who are engaged in this kind of project, the field guide and the interviewing, grow roots into their community, and the research clearly shows that they tend to return.
Yes.
They will hold it in their heart, and especially in a digitally driven world, you will have graduates who will be able to choose to live anywhere.
Right.
And they will,
right.
because of the experiences you've given them, you stand a better chance of them deciding to come back to Danforth.
Right.
It's spot on.